has a serious plan to get the continent on better footing.
Africa's economic transition depends on good government, healthy populations, and reliable and affordable energy. These things business seeks out when they're looking to invest. They attract new opportunities, and they launch new partnerships. And the United States is committed to supporting every aspect of Africa's inclusive growth and creating the best possible environment for sustained commercial engagement between Africa companies and American companies. The United States is all in on Africa's future.
The second day of the three-day U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit focused on the one thing the U.S. has and that every African country needs: money. U.S. officials announced that they would give African nations $55 billion over the next 3 years, much of it directed toward health and climate projects. On Tuesday, Biden also announced an agreement between the U.S. and the new African Continental Free Trade Area, and a range of other bilateral agreements that he said would unlock economic growth in the world's fastest-growing continent. And the new African Continental Free Trade Area, and a range of other bilateral agreements that he said would unlock economic growth in the world's fastest-growing continent. And he said the U.S. is taking this relationship online by working with Congress to invest about $350 million in what he called the digital transformation with Africa.
And this will include partnerships between African-American companies to provide cybersecurity services to make sure Africa's digital environment is reliable and secure.
The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations told VOA that U.S. assistance won't be affected by African nations' reluctance to condemn Russia and cut ties over its invasion of Ukraine.
Women and children were brought to our shores in chains, subjected to unimaginable cruelty. My nation's original sin was that period. We honor their descendants who for generations have helped build this country. Today's announcement join a portfolio of partnership for global infrastructure and investment projects already underway in Africa, including mobilizing $8 billion in public and private finance to help South Africa replace coal-fired power.
You know what's funny about this? Tucker Carlson came out recently on his show, and he said there would be violence, if black people in America got reparations. And, then there were these Mexicans who said, American Cholo and these other, Mexican Nazis who were like spewing all this anti-black rhetoric in the United States and saying, black people, they got to get out and fight against, Mexicans, Hispanics got to get out and fight against black people getting reparations. So I noticed like all of this bluster from these white people and these Mexicans in America about reparations for blacks in America. I notice I don't hear them saying anything about this. Like, they don't have any problem with them giving tens of billions of dollars and apologizing to Africans in Africa. But to so-called descendants of slavery in America, right? There are no apologies and there are no billions of dollars in economic development or reparations or anything like that. And nobody cares. Right? Total silence on the issue. But they said if blacks in America tried to do that, or if they tried to do that for blacks and Americans, blacks, descendants of slavery, aka so-called blacks in America, that there would be, it would be, all kinds of uproar from Tucker Carlson said there might be violence. The Mexicans saying, they would get out and fight against it. And et cetera, you got Asians, they're against, I think they filed a lawsuit against Harvard for affirmative action. It says set-asides for blacks are racist against Asians and white people, whatever. So you see all of this fight. But I don't see anybody, I just thought it was interesting, right, that this went off without a hitch. So, anyway.